Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People. In today's episode, Entitled X is a grief thief. Single people without kids are rich. Friend's entitled X begs her to let him move in because he had nowhere else to go. Entitled coworkers exploit perk, get mad at consequences / this is why we can't have nice things. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled X is a grief thief. My late husband's ex is a crazy. This isn't based on anything he said. He wasn't one to badmouth people in general. At the beginning of the relationship, all he said was, "That was a very bad time in my life and I'd like to leave it in the past. I'd erase it if I could. A do-over where we never met would be better." As we got more serious, I learned more. She had cheated, tried to convince him to start a family with her, possibly because she was pregnant by one of her affair partners, and then maxed out all of their credit cards before leaving the country. He was stuck paying it off, so it didn't affect his credit. She returned about a year before we started dating and tried to reconnect through mutuals. He had to change his number twice. The second time, he also cut out a considerable number of friends who had given his first new number to her. And then she somehow got my number. She sounded friendly enough, but 1, how did she get my number and why was she calling me? 2, I have savvy manipulative family members and she wasn't even amateur hour compared to them. She tried to butter me up by saying we have so much in common because of our great taste in men, but there was something that I should know about him before things got too serious. She invoked the sisterhood, and how she couldn't, in good conscience, stand by and say nothing when a fellow woman was about to make a big mistake. I let her talk because I wanted to know what kind of BS she would spew. After I hung up, both my and my husband's social circle tightened a little more. Her social circle decreased, too. Specifically, she cut out a lot of people for allowing him to become engaged to me. How could they betray her and let that happen, when she was his one and only soulmate? They were meant to be together, and would have been, if I didn't get in the way. She never really gave up, but we ignored her and blocked as needed. Fast forward. After my husband passed away, a friend called and nervously asked how I was feeling before leading up to whether I had been on Facebook that day. The ex had posted a long, tearful post on his memorial page about her loss, how heartbreaking it was to know that she would never see her soulmate, the great love of her life, ever again. She included pictures of their engagement and wedding. She rambled about her utter emotional devastation and how no one could understand her great loss. I deleted the post and blocked her from the group. And my social circle once more decreased in size as I cut out the people who liked her post or offered support in the comments. OMG, this reminds me of something that happened to a friend of mine. Her fiance's stepmother, aka stepmonster, and father-in-law had been divorced more than 20 years. Probably 30 years at most. She changed her last name back to her maiden name. In that span of time, her father-in-law moved on with different women and then more or less fell hard for a woman we'll call Monica. They lived together for a long time, practically a common-law marriage. He really did love her, and it was evident to everyone who saw them together. Well, the father-in-law died in a motorcycle accident. The day after, stepmonster swings by my friend's house, was crying and acting devastated. Changed her social media accounts from her maiden name back to her former partner's name. Then declared to everyone that her ex was her soulmate. But that's not all. I wasn't there for the funeral, but it was legendary. Apparently my friend, who orchestrated the funeral, paid everything out of pocket because no one had the money and he would have wanted this. So she paid for it all. Prior to the service, my friend found an email that her father-in-law wrote stating that Monica was the love of his love. His soulmate. His everything and his world. So my friend read that letter aloud. Stepmonster lost her shit. Stood up noisily but didn't say anything, but all eyes were on her as she and her sister walked out. Then everyone could hear her screaming in the parking lot about how SHE was his soulmate. Not Monica. The best part was she forgot her granddaughter. Abandoned her at the funeral home while she got in her car and tore out of the parking lot. Good for you and screw her. Single people without kids are rich. It's a tale as old as time, people who like to claim how close-knit their family is, but have excuses when help is needed. In this story, a distant cousin was jailed. When I say distant, I mean in terms of closeness. He wasn't even a family member I saw at weddings and funerals. He was nice enough, but troubled. Finding out he was in jail was not a surprise. Now I annulled nor do I watch crime and lawyer shows. If I use the wrong terminology, that's why. What matters is that my cousin needed bail posted. His parents refused. They have other kids and believes he posed a flight risk. They couldn't afford to lose the money. They were, of course, berated by the rich uncle. You know the one, the family member with the most money, and the most reasons why he can never help anyone. Cousin's parents stood firm, blocked TRU, and went LC with everyone else out of shame. It should be noted that they tried, along with the grandparents, to help guide my cousin to the right path. They attended family and individual therapy. They followed the therapist's recommendations to create additional structure and find appropriate outlets for my cousin's energy. Once he turned 18, he moved out and went NC with anyone who showed even a sliver of concern. Rich uncle proceeded to call every family member. Most of us let his calls go to voicemail. In the end, he was disinvited from all family events after cornering my youngest cousins, late teens and early 20s. Rich uncle started out nice with a sob story about their older cousin and how family should help each other. One of the youngest respectfully points out that rich uncle has a lot of money, a lot more than they have, and could easily help. Rich uncle tells them, like he told anyone else who pointed out this basic fact, that it's not that easy. Most of his assets aren't liquid, and unlike the youngest cousins, he has bills and a family to take care of. Their only responsibility is school, so surely they can use all the extra money they have to help their cousin, their blood family. Rich uncle was eventually kicked out, after much yelling and screaming. I don't know where that cousin is now, by the way. Nobody does. I hope he was able to turn his life around. Edit, I guess I should have titled this Rich Uncle Thinks Single People Without Kids Are the Richest. Sorry if some of you single childless people felt attacked. If the cousin was guilty, why should anyone pay his bail? Serious question, I don't know how the system works over there. Here the time spent in jail at that point is taken away from the sentence. Here the time spent in jail at that point is taken away from the sentence. Yes, judges in the US can give credit for time served during sentencing. I mean, if his own parents wouldn't pay because they think he's a flight risk, why would anyone else? If the uncle wants to, that's on him, but not sure why he was egging everyone else on to pay. Friends entitled X begs her to let him move in because he had nowhere else to go. All names have been changed. My soft-hearted friend Emma finally broke up with the parasite she once called her boyfriend. Kyle has 100 excuses for why everyone else is the problem. His bosses are mean and expect too much of him, like showing up for his shifts. His co-workers create a hostile work environment because they refuse to do his job for him. He's also realized that the people he called friends are not really his friends because they won't refer him for openings at their companies. Kyle thinks that he has really bad luck. At the beginning of this month, one of these friends told him that their living situation is not working out. Kyle needs to find other accommodations by month's end. He did nothing until this week. He had been praying that his friend was a real one who wouldn't really kick him out. However, today his friend asked Kyle if he needed help packing. The month is over in 1 week, you see. In a panic, Kyle called Emma. He begged her to let him stay, all expenses paid by her, until he gets back on his feet. People he thought were friends have shown who they really are and abandoned him. They abandoned him in his hour of need, and for what? Something as pithy as money? Don't remind him that all of his friends hosted him at some point. He not only paid no rent, he expected them to pay his living expenses. They're friends. He would do the same for them. Emma usually has a hard time saying no, but Kyle took advantage of her so badly that she said, "I don't think that's a good idea." She blocked him everywhere, then called her scary sister to tell him off and threaten him away. Poor Kyle. He was turned away by everyone. Abandoned. Forsaken. And they knew he had nowhere to go. His mom's house does not count as somewhere to go. His mom is, in his words, a self-absorbed B***tch. A good parent doesn't expect her 37-year-old son to hold down a job and pay rent. A good parent doesn't make him do chores and maintain a level of order in the common areas. A roommate wouldn't even expect this. Dropping the sarcastic tone, I am so proud of Emma for not falling for this. I hope he gets his life in order now, but even if he doesn't, at least it's not my friend's problem. Emma should be very proud of herself. That takes a shiny spine and hers is new. I'll pine away with my wine till I can align your fine creative words to fit me as I prepare to dine and dash with this quip of 9 because I love your new spine description that will make a future nerdy line of mine shine. Your statement was brilliant and a very beautiful description. I just couldn't resist coming up with a dorky, took me 20 minutes to create, line of my own. So a 37-year-old entitled man cannot look after himself and expects everyone to put up with him, he needs to grow up. I love the sarcastic bite of your post. And I may not know her, but tell Emma I am proud of her for telling this over-entitled man baby to FK off. That took a spine. And from what I gather, that's a new thing for her. She's awesome. I hope you let her know that. Entitled coworkers exploit perk, get mad at consequences / this is why we can't have nice things. The parking garage at work requires a card pass to enter and exit. We also issue parking permits and keep a log of license plates in an attempt to discourage people from renting out their space. Our office is in the downtown core. We installed a handful of EV charging stations and sent out a notice that this is a benefit for employees only. The company lets employees charge their cars for free, and then they're supposed to move their car to one of the regular spots. I suppose I should say used to let, as that privilege has been revoked for everyone. A handful of idiots told their friends they could charge their cars for free, and even let them borrow their cards to get in and out of the garage. Their idiot friends left their cars parked for the entire business day, bringing this to the attention of management almost immediately when actual employees complained they couldn't charge their vehicles. A notice went out to advise that unauthorized vehicles would be towed without notice going forward. We switched to a paid model. I don't have an EV, so I don't know if there are special terms and whatnot. That brought a lot of complaints, unsurprisingly not from people who didn't exploit this perk. Sure, they were unhappy, but the loudest whiners were the ones who had to tell their friends they couldn't charge their cars for free anymore. Someone always has to ruin it. Right? I feel bad for the good coworkers who lost out. Imagine having a free charging station conveniently located, and now you have to pay because your cubemate is a buffoon. It's these type of smooth-brained people that force employers to become micromanagers. Yeah, I hear you. My company sells EV chargers and installed them on site to gather data about usage and such. Eat your own dog food. Union has now filed complaint that it is unfair that only EVs get free fuel and not everyone with gas or diesel or public transportation. Now company is leaning toward pulling it all. Now no more usage data. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.